Hello everyone and welcome back to another Pokemon Go video. And in this video, we are actually going to be going over our Kingdom Cup tournament win. Yes, you heard that right, guys. We won our tournament on the 6th of April. I'm recording this at like 3 a.m. on the 7th of April. Um, and yeah, guys, we did win our Kingdom Cup tournament one of the month. We are going to be doing three this month, I believe. One more local tournament and one on the international PvP Discord. But this one was the local one. Pretty close to my house, like a 20-minute drive. We actually had a good turnout. There was 14 or 13 people, and yeah, that qualifies for like the 4 rounds. So yeah, I went 4-0, and you guys will see here. Um, my my whole strategy going into this was to basically protect my team from Charizard. So yeah, as we watch these battles, I'm going to be going over what's going on in my head and my thought process, my analysis, all that stuff. And yeah, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to win your Tempest or not Tempest, your Kingdom Cup tournament. So yeah, anyways, let's jump right into round number one here. So guys, right before we get into this first battle here, I'm actually putting this in after I edited my video. But yeah, to make it a little more detailed for you guys and to give you my exact strategy going into this tournament, I want you guys to see all these graphics I made. And basically, the strategy here is for me to find out what my team is most weak to, aka Charizard and Blaziken, and find out the best counters for it. Basically, in all these images, you will see that I studied and used my lineups completely dependent upon the best the best and most favorable matchups here. So as you can see, Alolan Marowak on my team is very good against his Charizard, Blaziken, and Lucario. So yeah, there I have a very high chance to encounter one of those three Pokemon. Um, it's basically a half chance to encounter them, and Alolan Marowak will do very well against those Pokemon. And Alolan Marowak is a great bodyguard for Lucario. Um, if Lucario ever gets countered by Charizard or Blaziken or another Lucario, my Alolan Marowak is there to help. And it also covers the rest of my team very well. But yeah, I don't want to make this too long, but yeah, my thought process was choosing Pokemon that had a lot of great and positive matchups against their lineup. And yeah, in this next one, as you will see here, we have Lapras. And by the way, guys, the blue means wins against Pokemon. The grayish, whitish color, peach color is it means a draw in most scenarios, and the red arrow means a loss, and it can be like colored with gray, blue, and red if there's three different outcomes depending on shield usage. So, anyways, Lapras here, I noticed was a draw between their Lapras. Um, it was very favorable versus their Charizard. It is favorable versus their Flygon with Ice Beam, and it's favorable against Altaria with Ice Beam and Ice Shard. And Water Gun being better versus Charizard and Lapras. So yeah, I noticed that there were three positive matchups there, and one even, and then I lost to Blaziken and Lucario, which I would cover quite well with my Charizard or my Alolan Marowak. So Alolan Marowak again is a great bodyguard for Lucario and also Lapras. Alright, so getting into this next one, we have a look at Lucario against their lineup, and we see here that Lucario is super effective to Lapras. It wins that matchup. It wins the Flygon matchup. and it is a draw against another Lucario. And we know it's not positive versus Altaria, and not positive versus Blaziken or Charizard. Now, in the last graphic here, we have the spotlight on Melmetal, which is which has some uh, very positive matchups against Altaria, against Charizard with 0 or 1 shield, and positive matchups against Lapras with no shields. And it is a draw a lot of the time with shields. And those draws are very close. Lapras does come out on top, but they're so close that Lapras won't be able to cause any more havoc after that quote unquote draw we have there. So here we are going up against um, Evenflow, and yeah, we predict his opener, which was Charizard, and our Lapras just was going ham there against it. He switches into Lapras quickly. But here I decide to stay in with Surf. Um, I wanted to burn some shields, but he probably wasn't going to shield that, so yeah, I let his Lapras continue to surf me, and then I make a late switch here into Lucario. I should have just probably switched that earlier, but in hindsight, it didn't really matter. But yeah, here's a Charizard, our main threat to our team. It's going to knock out our Lucario, but I'm completely okay with that because my Lapras has the Surf charged up already. We do burn his last shield, and now we're up 2 shields to 0. I let that Dragon Cloud go through so that my Alolan Marowak can finish off the last Pokemon here. And the last Pokemon is, I believe, Lucario. So, yeah, well played game 1 there. Um, he does get off one more Power Up Punch, but yeah, that's a GG in that game. So this opponent was pretty good. We went all 3 games. This is going to be game number 2 here, where let's actually no. I mean, you'll see his lineup on the screen, but basically, I was thinking I want to trap his Charizard again. Um, and yeah, I do. I wanted to switch up the flow, because I doubt he was gonna lead Charizard again, but we switched up hoping he would lead Lucario. Um, but yeah, we have our essentials. We have Alolan Marowak to counter Lucario, Charizard. Then we have yeah. So okay, so I'll get into that later, but right here we got Alolan Marowak versus Altaria, which is not favorable for me. Um, so I do block that Sky Attack there, and he also blocks the Shadow Ball. I do go ahead and use my second shield here to force him to use his shield on Altaria, but he actually decides to not block, so that was really smart by him. And now here, we're basically just going to try and gain as much energy as we can with Lapras to hope and pray that he maybe doesn't have Lucario in his lineup, but of course he does, so we have to switch immediately into our own Lucario to attempt to knock it out there. And then yeah, he still has 1 shield remaining, so he uses that right there, and he knocks out our Lapras. So yeah, like I was going to say there, the opening matchup was unfortunately uh, a very unfavorable one, but usually in that case, just looking at my team, you'd notice that my team is pretty weak to Charizard, so my whole goal was to trap the Charizard against the Lapras in the beginning, and then just allow my Lucario to go to work against other Laprases, a Steelix, a Bastiodon, and then my Alolan Marowak would be the cover for the Lapras. So Alolan Marowak was Lapras's buddy there, or Lucario's buddy there. Yeah, and this is the last matchup here. Um, I'm going to give some love to this lineup here. All right, yeah, so there we go in with that lineup. Um, open with the Melmetal, they open with Altaria, so yep, that's a perfect matchup for us, exactly what we wanted there. And now he switches into Lapras, so I switch immediately into Lucario, blocking that first Surf because we know Surf would deal a lot of damage, and we need to get rid of this Lapras. Um, and now we still think he has that Charizard threat in the back, but we do have Melmetal to get rid of that in case. And this Altaria just starts going ham on us, but that's okay because I still have my shields and I have this Melmetal with the pre-charged Rock Slide. That burns his last shield, so now we are up a shield and up Pokemon advantage. But here they make a, a fast swap into Lucario, so I actually decided to swap into Lapras here. I want to shield this, and then I want to use a Surf to get rid of not the Lapras, to get rid of the Lucario there. So that was my exact thinking. And then here, he has to use a Sky Attack or else I would have gotten Ice Beam off. And now he has an unprotected Altaria, and I have Rock Slide to knock that out. So yeah, that opener with Melmetal was risky, but it did pay off big since he didn't switch out that Altaria there. So yeah, in this tournament, I'd say that that Melmetal was my MVP. Well, that and Lapras probably I'd say was my MVPs. And Charizard, all like that three core was probably my MVPs. But yeah, let's get right into round number 2. So yeah, and now going into matchup number 2, we want to think about how exactly we're going to approach this team. And as you can see here, with Charizard being the first infograph you'll be seeing here, Charizard has 3 pretty positive matchups and 1 draw. So the draw is, of course, against another Charizard. Um, Charizard does beat his Alolan Dugtrio quite well because it is also Steel typing, and it only has access to Iron Head and ground moves, which Charizard will resist. And then Charizard is a very favorable matchup against Lucario, and as well as Alolan Ninetales due to its Ice typing. And yeah, that's that for Charizard against his lineup. So we do highly consider Charizard in that scenario. Now moving on to Lapras, which we have a ton of positive matchups for. With first we have Altaria with the Ice Beam Ice Shard. Mine has Water Gun, but Water Gun still beats Altaria in all shield scenarios. Then we have Lapras, which will shred through that Alolan Dugtrio with Water Gun, Surf, and Ice Beam. And then we have Charizard, which is the same scenario there. We shred it with those water moves. And then we have a draw against his Lapras there. And then finally, we have another win against his Alolan Ninetales. Alright, now moving into the next Pokemon, we have Lucario. Here we have another very positive matchup against his team. We have super effective and a strong showing against Alolan Dugtrio and Ninetales. We have another win against Lapras, and we have a draw/tie against his own Lucario. So we're just going to continue to look at what Pokemon we have the most positive matchups with. And here we have the Melmetal, which is also pretty interesting. The Melmetal has positive matchups against Alolan Ninetales, Charizard with the Rock Slide with 1 or 0 shields, but it does lose with 2 shields, so keep that in mind. And then we have another positive matchup against Altaria because of that Rock Slide spam, which is just so strong. And then we have Melmetal being super effective against Lapras with the either Rock Slide or T-Bolt. And we do win that with 0 shields, but then Lapras draws us with shields. So yeah, take that into consideration. Lapras' Surf will do a decent amount of damage. Alright guys, going into round number 2 here, we have our next opponent. We decided to lead Melmetal against Lapras. And they make a quick switch into Lucario, so we switch into our own Lucario to attempt to win this mirror matchup here. We get off our power up punch to force a shield, which we actually get, so that was really nice. We also do get that swap advantage afterwards. So here I wait down the swap clock as long as I think I can. And then I switch into the Smell Metal to get off Rock Slide. They shield, so that's perfect for us. We do shield the Surf though because I want to get rid of that Lapras there. But yeah, Melmetal is just extremely fast to those charge moves. And if you don't have shields, it's going to hurt quite a bit. So yeah, here we have Lapras versus a Zero Shields Altaria. And you guys can probably guess what's going to go down here. We're going to just Ice Beam it to death and take game number 1. So yeah, that first opponent got me really like worried. But he was a great like warm up, to say the least. He gave me a lot of trouble in that the match in the middle we had there. Uh, I think I could have just played better and just not used my shields way early like I did. But I wanted to see how it would have worked out. And yeah, we took the game 3, so that was fun. But here we're just gonna switch up the leads a little bit. Um, I believe his team had Charizard in it, so I was okay with doing the Charizard mirror matchup here. But ideally, we want Lapras to cover for that Melmetal, that Steelix, and that Lucario. So yeah, for tournament 2 this month, I might switch it up and give my Dragonair some more love. But anyways, yeah, we actually run a lineup here without Lucario. So Charizard, Lapras, and Melmetal is my core of 3 this lineup or this match. And look at that, we get a very favorable matchup there. They switch into Lapras, but we switch right into Melmetal. We do allow that Surf to go through because I know I can tank it. Because we get to those rock slides just so incredibly quickly that it won't really matter what water gun damage we take. Because we can get off 3 rock slides, guys, in between 1 surf or 2 surfs. So that's incredible. And here they switch into their uh, Alolan form. We use Lapras, easy cleanup there. We have 2 shields still, and we're looking pretty. And yeah, we do finish off this Lucario. We have that shield advantage. We have everything we need to finish this Lucario. And yeah, we take those 2 games pretty convincingly, 2-0. And we're moving on to round 3. Alright, guys. Now going into match 3 here. This definitely was by far my hardest opponent. But yeah, let's take a look at Alolan Marowak against his lineup. So here we have 2 pretty positive matchups. Well, really we have 3, but that third one depends on shields. So to start this off, we have Alolan Marowak being a favorite matchup against Combuskin, against Lucario. As we know, Alolan Marowak resists those fire moves and those fighting moves from Combuskin and Lucario. Alolan Marowak also bests Charizard here in all shield scenarios. And also bests this Melmetal with 1 or 2 shields. But it does get beat by Rock Slide without shields. So take that into consideration. But yeah, mine has Fire Blast, so I won't be able to get Bone Clubs off. Now moving into the next set of favorable matchups we have is Charizard. So Charizard has a favorable matchup against Combuskin, winning with 1 or 2 shields, losing without shields. We know Charizard will have a hard counter win against Lucario. We have a draw against his Charizard, and then we have an interesting matchup against this Melmetal here, where Charizard without shields will lose. Charizard with a shield will draw, and Charizard with 2 shields will win against that Melmetal. Now let's get into Lapras against his lineup here. Um, and remember, I was taking a note of all this in my head right when I was checking out their lineups when I was at the tournament. So this is all like an example of what was going on in my head, just put out all in like a bunch of infographics. So anyways, Lapras here has a favorite matchup against Combusken with Ember, and or with Peck. The Water Gun being super effective. Lapras obviously is going to draw with itself. Lapras will win against Altaria in all shield scenarios with Ice Beam. Lapras will win against Charizard with Surf and Water Gun. And Lapras will win against Melmetal with 1 or 2 shields, but it will lose to Rock Slide without shields. Now let's get into Lucario's matchups here. We have Lucario having a favorable matchup against Combusken. We have Lucario obviously drawing against a Lucario. Then Lucario is going to beat that Lapras there. And Lucario will also beat his Melmetal. Those are all pretty great matchups for me. In this last one, we have my Melmetal here, which will tie his Melmetal. My Melmetal will beat the Charizard with shields, but lose without shields. Um, my Melmetal will wreck an Altaria with Rock Slide, and it will beat Lapras without shields. It will draw with 2 shields, and it will lose against it with 1 shield. So yeah, take that into consideration. Um, that Melmetal actually beats Charizard without shields, but it loses with shields. So I have that a little bit backwards there, but that's okay. Alright guys, welcome to round 3 here. And to give you guys a little heads up, well not a heads up, but to give you my thoughts before we start this round. Last month, this is the actual person I lost to in our 5-round tournament at the Cup in Enfield, which is just like a town or city that's pretty close by me. But yeah, this is actually the guy we lost to. That I didn't have the recordings for, so this is going to be a rematch here. And yeah, you're going to see what happens. But anyways, let's hop right into these. But first, to give you another reminder, me and him are 1-1 at this point. But this battle is going to change that. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So he is our main opponent to beat here. So we want to get this win. So we open Lapras. They open their Altaria. This is an okay matchup for me, but I don't want to use my shields here. So yeah, here I actually make a switch into Melmetal to catch him off guard with 1 Rock Slide, which he does shield, but then he makes a swap into Lucario. I do think he should have swapped a little earlier there, but that's fine. We did burn that shield, and now we do have the shield advantage, but it's gonna have to be a Lucario mirror match. So we're gonna let our Lucario die. Basically, we're gonna put a lot of work. We're gonna have to do a lot of work with Lapras, but he comes in with his own Lapras with Water Gun, and yeah, that's really not good for us. Uh, yeah, we pretty much have 2 shields for essentially nothing, because we can't do anything with our Lapras with the health it has remaining. So yeah, that was a GG for game 1. But you guys gonna see what happens here. After this match, I was just so incredibly hyped and relieved as well, because I knew once I got past him, my chances of winning the tournament were super high. Because once I get going, like once I get my wins and I start to beat better and better opponents, that's where usually like everything just ends up going in my favor. So this cup is heavily determined on who wins the opening matchup. Um, as with all the other cups have been, it's just so like based on whoever wins the opening match. Because once you lose that opening match, if you're on the other end, um, it puts you in like a downward spiral, and everything you had to counter them is basically gone, but everything they have to counter you is basically still alive. So yeah, here's an example: Melmetal versus Combustion. Unfavorable for us, so we do have to switch into Lapras here. He does get off Rock Slide surprisingly, so I didn't shield that, but then he brings in Lucario to finish me off. I make him burn the shield to shield that Surf, and now we bring in Charizard. So perfect scenario for us. Um, we could have had a better lead matchup, but that's okay. We shield his Power Up Punch because we do want to charge energy for whatever is left, which is Lapras and that Combustion still. We do get off two Dragon Claws, forcing him to use his last shield. And here is where here's where the Melmetal just comes in absolute clutch. So yeah, we're actually able to. He switches into that Combustion, we're able to get off Rock Slide, and then he switches back into Lapras. So I see what he was trying to do there. He's trying to get enough damage on Ember to finish us. But you know, my Melmetal charged up just enough energy to get off a Rock Slide there. Whew, so yeah, that was pretty close. I was so surprised he ran a Lucario and a Combustion. Um, I was praying not for a Charizard and Combustion because that would have wrecked my lineup, but yeah, we take that win there. Now the series is 1-1, and we're getting I'm getting pretty nervous here. We both take our time to really choose what to lead with and what to run. Sorry. All right, so here we go, guys. Um, this is the final battle in this match. We're both 1-1 right now. So let's see who takes this game. All right, so guys, here we go. Last match of this round. Um, we have a very unfavorable matchup here. Charizard against Lucario, so we get off that first power punch, which they don't shield. And now here we bring in Lapras, um, which is the scenario we actually want because that Lapras covers for Lucario. And now he brings in his Lucario. I have to bring in my Alolan Marowak. And I knew he was going to have a Shadow Ball there, so I blocked that. Fire off my own Shadow Ball. And then we just continue to battle it out. I do block this, but it was actually a power punch, so he really got he got the shield bait on me. But there he uses his last shield, and he's barely able to scrape out one more Shadow Ball against me. And here's where I was getting super nervous. We charged up enough energy for that Surf. We surf the Combustion, and then we take it out with one or two more Water Guns. So, yeah, that couldn't have been a closer matchup. He once again used that Lucario and that Combustion, and that's where round 3 is over. So at this point, I'm feeling really good. I know there's a high chance of me winning this because he is one of my main competitors, and after I get past him, pretty much everyone else I can just like beat. Like there's nothing else to it. I'm not trying to sound cocky or anything, but that's how it's really been. Like I've beaten everyone else but him. So now me and him are 2-1. I'm 2. I have 2 round wins against him. He has 1 round win against me. So yeah, well, the rivalry continues. I'm gonna try to keep winning here. But yeah, let's move into round 4 here. And now let's get into our fourth and final opponent here in the tournament. So yeah, we're basically calculating um, a lineup to pick from, just basing it purely off of the most positive matchups and which Pokemon do the best against their lineup. And in all these matches, if you guys haven't been able to pick up on it yet, um, all those Pokemon I've outlined are Pokemon I've used against them in their teams. In all combined, in every single one of the battles, you'll see each one of those Pokemon in different orders. So anyways, let's get into this last set of infographs here with our fourth opponent, Lori. And to start off, we have Alolan Marowak. So Alolan Marowak has a favorable matchup against Charizard. It has a good matchup against Skarmory. Without shields, it does take the win there, but with 1 or 2 shields, it does tie. Alolan Marowak, obviously we know, it beats Lucario out pretty well. And it can actually beat Melmetal with Bone Club with 1 or 2 shields. And it's pretty much a draw without shields, so watch out for that. Now moving into Charizard against their lineup. Charizard is going to draw against another Charizard. It's going to absolutely wreck Skarmory. It's going to absolutely wreck Lucario. And it's going to beat out Melmetal with 2 shields. It'll draw with 1 shield, and it will lose with no shields. Now moving into Lucario against our lineup. We have Lucario beating Skarmory with 1 or 2 shields, and Lucario will lose against Skarmory without shields. Then Lucario is going to dominate Bastiodon. It will draw against itself, and it will dominate that Melmetal there. Now we're going into our Melmetal here, and its most favorable matchups against this lineup. So yeah, here we got the Melmetal being neutral against itself. We have Melmetal having a favorable matchup against Altaria and Skarmory, both weak to Rock Slide and T-Bolt respectively. And then we have Melmetal beating Charizard with no shields, drawing with 1 shield, and losing with 2 shields. And now the last and final matchup here, we have Steelix. Steelix was super strong against our lineup here, as you can see. They only have 2 real counters for it, and Steelix here is going to best the Melmetal. It will dominate Bastion. It will be a soft counter towards Altaria, and it will dominate Skarmory. So yeah, I hope you guys understand my strategy going into this tournament and how I thought about each and every matchup. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Alright guys, here we go. Last round of this tournament. We've pretty much overcome everyone who's given us a struggle in the past. That first guy, you saw him in my last Tempest Cup tournament win video. He took me to 3 games, and our last opponent, Mewtwo Dad, also took us to 3 games, but we did come out with the victory. So now, the final round here, guys, is against this woman named Lori, and you'll see her team up on the screen, but I want to give you guys a little note here on this lineup. I noticed that their lineup was extremely weak to Steelix. So if I can recall correctly, they were running um, Altaria, Bastiodon, Alolan Marowak, um, and I think one other thing weak to Steelix. So that was like her team consisted of like 3 or 4 things weak to Steelix. So here is a great example of where Steelix will shine in your tournament, guys. So Yeah, just watch how I play this out. So I open with Steelix there, hoping for Altaria, and look at that, we get an Altaria. So yeah, here we're getting hype, guys. We're getting hype. We know this is a really positive matchup for us. We don't have to block a thing. We can save all of our shields. That Dragon Tail just goes to work, and so does the Crunch. If they don't shield, which is actually perfect for us. That's actually really what we want in this scenario. Um, we get rid of that Lucario threat. They bring in their own Lucario. So here I bring in my Alolan Marowak. But this is where not having Bone Club really hurts me because I know they're going to get out of Shadow Balls quicker than me, even though I got that first one off. So I do shield their Shadow Ball. We both trade shields here. And they get off another Shadow Ball just barely ahead of me. I shield that, fire off my own Shadow Ball. They shield that as well. So now I'm thinking, okay, their last Pokemon is probably something weak to Alolan Marowak, maybe. But it comes out to be a Skarmory, guys. So we can get off one Shadow Ball here right before going out. And here's a crucial mistake made by them. They actually used their Sky Attack instead of saving it for my last Pokemon, which was Lucario. But I am able to just barely scrape that win out. And after that match, I was like, wow, I'm lucky that they used their I'm lucky that they used their Sky Attack early on me, but later on I did go into PvP Poke and check out that simulation, and it looked like Lucario tanks that Sky Attack and just barely squeezes out a win with like 8 HP left. Since Lucario resist or since the Steel typing on Lucario resists the Sky Attack, but the Sky Attack is super effective to Lucario's Fighting type, it's a 1 times damage, so it's neutral damage. And on PV Poke, it seemed to me that Lucario would have won that regardless because of how low HP that Skarmory was. But yeah, we do get slightly blessed there. But yeah, going into this next matchup, we actually run Steelix first. Actually, no, we changed our mind once again. In my brain, I'm just like trying to like predict, oh, is it gonna be Lucario? Is it gonna be Lucario lead? And look at that, it is Lucario lead. So I'm glad I switched back into that Charizard. We are in. This is our game to lose essentially now, so we need to take this home here. They bring in Melmetal. I'm loving it. I have Steelix on my team. I get 2 Blast Burns off. They have to burn both their shields, guys, and I pretty much know I've already won here because I still have both shields. I don't have to block anything from this Melmetal. I could just use an Earthquake here, which I do to one hit KO that Melmetal. Then they bring in that Altaria, and I know it's GG. I mean, even if they opened that Melmetal, my Charizard still would have had a favorable matchup. And yeah, we wouldn't have really shielded anything from the Charizard or from the Melmetal regardless because Charizard's quick damage is a lot. So we take that game and we take this series 2-0 over Lori, and that right there is the win for my first local Kingdom Cup tournament, guys. So yeah, to wrap up this video, um, I'm just gonna throw out some helpful tips from me and some things that I believe helped win my cup. So the first thing, um, is to find if you need to like practice with anyone or like try to figure out your own things. Like the night before the tournament, I actually did 29 battles with a trainer I worked at my friendship with, and we showed each other's lineups, and he basically said that my lineup is really weak to Charizard and Blaziken. which I did know, but I didn't exactly know how to use Lapras to my advantage. So he was telling me some tips that people will want to run Charizard first. So I would run Lapras first, and that was a super helpful tip. Um, so to basically translate this into your guys' team, just go about it and find the Pokemon that are most weak to one typing, and choose a Pokemon that hard counters all of those. It's basically how this cup is already working. So if your team consists of, let's say, 3 steel types or more, make sure to bring in a Lapras or something to counter fire types, or bring in an Alola Marowak with Bone Club to counter those fighting types of Lucario and Blaziken and Combuskin and all those other Pokemon. And yeah, just have a plan and make sure you open with those counters because it will catch them off guard eventually. And it worked for me, as you guys saw. There was multiple times where I opened Lapras and they opened Charizard, so that helped me a lot. And then my other tip is to not overthink your leads. I think I overthought my leads a lot here. But this cup, it really comes down to just who leads with what. So try to find a safe lead. Like make sure to examine their teams and try to figure out in your head your most positive matchups. Um, like for me, Lapras had a bunch of positive matchups in my against my opponents. Charizard also did, and yeah, I had a lot of counters for like things like Altaria. And yeah, just basically try to figure out what has the most positive matchups and lead with that. Um, Altaria is a pretty safe lead. I'd say Dragonair is also a really safe lead. Um, Charizard is iffy, but it can be a safe lead if they open with something weak to fire. Um, and yeah, like the last tip I can really give you guys to to make sure you don't lose hope. And even if you go down in the first matchup, just think of it as like a warm-up match, and think of it as like a practice match to figure out how their team works and how they're gonna run their team. And just make sure to study their lineups. Take as much time as you need, and you should do well in your tournament. So yeah, to wrap this up, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you did. And yeah, that's Kingdom Cup Tournament 1 down. We have the win here. We're locked in for whatever is next. So yeah, I'm crossing my fingers. I'm going to make it the um, into the regionals because over here in my local tournaments, I haven't placed below second before. Like I haven't placed below 3 points. I've gotten 3 points in over every single tournament. So I think I'm looking pretty good for regionals right now. So anyways, yeah, that wraps up this video. Hope you guys have the best of luck in your Kingdom Cup tournaments, and I hope you guys learn from this tournament recording. And yeah, hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you guys later.